Video is sponsored by Cake Wallet, the easiest open source wallet to store Bitcoin, Monero, and Litecoin securely on mobile and desktop devices. When buying, selling, and exchanging crypto or trading for gift cards, Cake Wallet ensures privacy and security, giving you the keys to your coins. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the Randi Hipper Show. I'm your host. Today we have some major alpha dropping, so you better be ready by smashing the like, subscribing to the channel, sharing this out with friends. I'm not going to waste any time. We need to talk to our best friend here, Jared, the founder of DIGIBYTE. We've known each other for years, and I'm so happy to have you back, Jared. How are you?
I'm doing fabulous. Thank you for having me on. I love your show. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you, Jared. You're the best, and I honestly love DIGIBYTE. Guys, DIGIBYTE has been around for a really long time, and it's not going anywhere. But before we dive into DIGIBYTE, and everyone's throwing their DIGIBYTE emojis in our chat, we're going to do a little bit of a reverse in the timeline with our best friend, Jared. Jared, tell me about your 20s. What were you doing at 20 years old? Where did you think your life was going?
Oh, wow. Yeah, that takes me way back. As a kid growing up, I always wanted to be a pilot, right? That was my main number one thing I wanted to do. And honestly, the 20s were really defined by the 2008 financial crisis, the same thing that led me into crypto. And 2008 unfolded. Basically, I was 22 years old, the end of my junior year in college, going into my senior year. And at the time, I was in Army ROTC. I was contracted to, I think, the Idaho National Guard for 10 years,
Wow.
6 for being an officer, 4 because I was going to go into the helicopter pilot program. And that all got undone after I had eye surgery, and I was actually forced to drop out of college and I guess face the real world.
Wow.
And that led me down the journey of why did all this happen? And that's what led me into Bitcoin in 2012 and crypto. So I spent most of my 20s trying to understand the financial system and why everything unfolded and crashed the way it did. My junior year in college. I remember submitting 300 job applications trying to find a job after I left college and didn't get a single response in 2009. So
Wow.
that pretty well summed up my 20s.
So what was your major in college?
Well, psychology and history. Although I
Ah.
actually started as a chemistry major, but I decided I didn't want to work in a lab the rest of my life. So
Chemistry.
I was going to do computer science, but my advisors told me that I knew a lot about computers already and that I should go focus on something else. So
Wow. So they kind of like pushed you back a little bit. They didn't let you like reach your full potential in a way.
Well, no, the idea was, hey, go learn more about other subjects. They're like, you've been doing this computer stuff since you were a kid because my mother was a computer scientist. So I was coding when I was 12 or 13. And by the time I was a teenager, I was hacking video games and having all sorts of fun.
Wow. So your mom was like a woman in STEM before the whole movement of women in STEM?
She was. She actually graduated with a degree in computer science the first or second year that most major universities had computer science programs. And she was the same year as, I guess Bill Gates and Steve Ellis and all those guys. So, yeah, I was very fortunate, very lucky to have her as a mother.
Wow. And so when you decided not to do the computer science degree, did she approve of that? Or was she more like, I think you should follow my path?
No, she was just supportive of whatever I wanted to do. She never told me to do anything. So
did you do your 10 years in the for the contract?
No.
So you got the eye surgery before then, and then like it diverted your plan.
Well, what happened is in 2008, the state cut the budget by October of 2008, and so they cut my slot. So they released me from my contract because I needed a medical waiver. So everything happens for a reason. Who knows how my life would have turned out had I gone down that path, but I don't complain. Everything happens. Here I am now. So
wow. And then 2012, looking at Bitcoin, I mean, what would you even think of Bitcoin in 2012? Because I don't even think BIP 39 was out yet until like 2014.
Maybe been 2013.
Yeah, something like that. But like, what was it like to look at Bitcoin at that time? Like, it was really bare bones almost.
Yeah, I mean, I was mining like, I don't know, half to a full Bitcoin a day with my desktop gaming computer. Everyone I told about Bitcoin told me I was crazy. They said, "Oh, that's just another Bernie Madoff Ponzi scheme." In fact, I prepared a presentation for my parents one night to try and go borrow, I think, $3,500 to buy Bitcoin at $3, and they turned me down, which I have never let them forget about. But they told me, they're like, "Ah, you son, we're worried you're getting involved with this Bernie Madoff digital currency pyramid scheme, Ponzi scheme." I'm like, "No, I've went through the code. It's real."
So even your
Um,
mom didn't look at the code?
no, no, no. She now eventually I convinced her and she figured it out. But no, it's a sore subject in the family. During
Always is.
Thanksgiving, I make sure to remind them. I'm like, "Hey, have you seen the price of Bitcoin lately?" But at the time, it was a little rough. I mean, I was going from job to job. I was a personal trainer. I was building websites for companies. I was just hustling, doing whatever it took to get by. So that's
Wow.
my 20s was pretty rough. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I went broke a couple times, and I remember sleeping on an air mattress that had a hole, and I ended up sleeping on the floor. It was a growth period for sure.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely a growth period. I'm feeling that energy as well in the last year. A lot of shedding of weight and a lot of gaining of wisdom. And that's definitely what happens in your 20s for sure. And so going through all of that, I mean, being a personal trainer, like you were into fitness like that? I mean, like were you like jacked in your 20s?
I mean, I was in pretty decent shape. I have some pictures out there.
That's freaking awesome.
I,
Good for you.
I mean, I was an athlete. I played football, basketball, baseball, track, and I probably could have played in college too, but didn't go down that route. But yeah, I've always been, super active and love to be outdoors and love to do things. So I think that's probably kept me going. I mean, I'll be 40 here in a year, so time flies. Doesn't Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, doing the whole like athletic thing, I think is a great release, especially because we're nerds and we're behind our desk most of the day. And to take that break and go outside and just like physically move, I think is an amazing thing as well. And do you like to get in nature, Jared? Are you into nature? Do you like to go touch grass outside, smell the air and things?
Yeah, in fact, that's one of my favorite things to do. Go get some sunlight, go get some, vitamin D and breathe the fresh mountain air. And that actually, I think, leads me into this background behind me. As you can see
Yes.
here, that is, it's the Rocky Mountains, right? And I don't know exactly where this image was taken. Before this interview, I was trying to find it, but that ties me into what is decentralization? What does it mean? What does it mean for crypto? And to me, one of my best college professors, he used to say that in order to have an intelligent conversation with somebody, you need to define the terms you're using. So, if you don't mind, I'd like to define when I talk about decentralization and blockchain decentralization, at least what it means to me and what it's meant to me since 2012 when I first discovered Bitcoin. Because the first thing that stood out about Bitcoin, and it got me one day when I was walking out in the forests of central Idaho, I'm like, you know what? What Bitcoin's doing with the decentralization of the nodes on the network, it's just like this forest. It's just like nature. It literally is computer science approximating what we see in nature. So this professor, he said, if you're going to have an intelligent conversation, define your terms. Well, to me, decentralization with crypto means this. If tomorrow morning, um, the US government banned Bitcoin, which they kind of tried to do back in the day, could
Uh
they?
huh.
And if simultaneously the European Union, the Russian government, and all the Latin American countries tried to ban it simultaneously, could they? Well, anyone who's followed for the last 10 years realized they've all tried and they've all failed. And why is that? That's because there's true decentralization. And to compare it to nature, I mean, imagine a forest. If the trees right here behind me, if there was only 3 or 4 trees total and they were in your backyard and you didn't water them and they slowly withered and died, or maybe you live in an HOA and the HOA made you cut them down, that's not very resilient. But that's how a lot of crypto projects are architected today. And what that really means is if you have to go to a website to log in that has a domain name and a terms of service you have to agree to, that's just like only having the entire forest be 2 or 3 trees in your backyard. It's not It's not sustainable. It's easy to target. It's easy to attack, and it's not resilient like nature. But that's not how Digibyte or Bitcoin or even Litecoin operate. How they operate is what we call a true P2P over TCP/IP, which TCP/IP, transmission control protocol, and internet protocol, that's the very basis foundation of the internet, and that's the equivalent to a forest of trees that extends from Canada, from coast to coast, all the way down into Colorado and Idaho and Wyoming, and then all the way into Europe, and then across, Russia. That's decentralization. Because if you try and cut one or two trees, behind me, there's thousands more that continue growing and continue propagating. But every single tree is still unique because it's got its own unique trees, its own unique leaves and branches, just like you when you have your own private keys. Your private keys are unique to you, but it's part of a much larger decentralized ecosystem. And so I think what a lot of people don't understand is when we talk about being P2P, that means peer-to-peer, you and me. So if you're running a Digibyte node and I'm running a Digibyte node, we send transactions to each other. There's nobody in between. It's literally the very foundation of the internet. There's no middlemen. There's no third parties. And unfortunately, this really only still exists with a handful of blockchains today. And over time, over this last decade, this last 12, 13 years, the crypto industry has gotten more and more and more and more centralized. So that's why I want to highlight to people the importance, no matter what your favorite blockchain is, if you can't run a node and become one of the trees in the massive decentralization forest, then you're not really participating in helping grow the original vision of what Satoshi was trying to do. So whether you like Bitcoin, whether you like Digibyte, whether you like Litecoin, or even other projects, like Dash or Ravencoin, etc. If you can actually run a node, which means the full version of the blockchain, and become part of the decentralized forest, that's what you need to do. That's what we all need to do to keep this technology growing and being strong and resilient. Because unfortunately, the data is clear. As projects get more and more centralized, they're more and more easily controlled by the very forces that Bitcoin, Digibyte, and other cryptos were designed to fight against.
Yeah, and we see that all the time where like major blockchains that, companies and institutions are really running their money market funds on, or maybe stable coins, they go down. And then the devs got to go fix it. And that's something I don't want. Why are we like waiting on one piece of like technology to fail and then we're like, oh gosh, now what do we do? Like if we're going to tokenize assets, if we're going to have our savings somewhere, if we're going to like, start verifying identities and things of that nature on blockchain, it has to be one that's reliable. And I feel like right now people are kind of spoiled with what's going on here, but at least we have Digibyte. And like going back to Digibyte coming out in 2014, obviously you had Bitcoin, you had Litecoin in the scene. Why did you feel the need to create Digibyte? And really, like, how did you encapsulate those fundamentals? Because yes, we have all the trees, but like, what are the roots that you were looking for?
Right. So after going through the code, there's a few things that stood out to me. First of all, I thought it could be faster. So
I agree.
today, Digibyte is 40 times faster than Bitcoin, and it has a block every 15 seconds. And that's really only possible because we have 5 independent mining algorithms. So the initial goal was to make it faster, to make it more decentralized with the mining. So Digibyte has 5 independent mining algorithms. So
Love that.
one particular type of hardware can't monopolize it. So there's actually much greater decentralization. There's a bigger forest when it comes to Digibyte mining. And then finally, the idea was, okay, Bitcoin is going to take all the heat. That's going to take all the attention. But going back to the decentralization aspect, if you have a Litecoin, if you have a Digibyte, if you have multiple independent networks, the entire ecosystem becomes more resilient and stronger and more decentralized if something should happen to one or the other. And over the last 12 years, I've seen a lot of blockchains fail. I've seen a lot of them. And in order to avoid the true decentralized failures, that's why the industry is becoming more centralized. But, it's important to understand, the very basic, like if you're thinking of a house, the very basic foundation, the concrete with the, the pillars and the rebar that are in the ground that the house is built on, the way that works with the internet is what we call TCP/IP. That's transmission control protocol. And that's why like the Digibyte client, when our nodes connect and go direct to each other. There is no third party. But the way that the internet has evolved, there was a system called HTTP, Hypertext Transfer Protocol, that was built on top of TCP/IP. And that became like the DNS domain name system to make the internet more easy to navigate. Unfortunately, by doing that and by funneling everyone into websites and domain names, it makes the entire internet and anything built on that stack a much broader attack surface and much less resilient. And that's why it's easy to take down websites. I mean, the government does it all the time. All they got to do is go to the DNS servers. There's only the domain name servers, or what point people to, whatever.com. There's only a handful of those, and the government agencies can go seize them, and they can seize them worldwide. So anything that you have to log into with a username and password and go to a domain name in crypto is not decentralized. And then if they claim it is, often there's only running on a handful of servers, which is like having a tiny forest in your backyard that can be exterminated at any time. So
that's like running on AWS.
Exactly. Well, I've said for years, I mean, there's a lot of projects, and I'm not here to slam any individual projects. I'm not going to do that. But just think about it. If all of a project's nodes run on AWS, all it takes is a phone call and a subpoena from the US government, and those things are offline.
Jeez, like that is really scary. And it's kind of like, how are we gonna lay out that groundwork? And I know that you said that Digi has 5 mining algos. What are those algos? How do they apply to DigiByte? And why did you choose to do 5? Like, why not just like make it basic, just stick to what Bitcoin and Litecoin did? Like, why add all the extra? Well,
so those finalists, those algorithms were chosen for multiple reasons. Mainly, a lot of them were finalists in the SHA-3 competition. So the SHA-3 family of encryption algorithms was a competition sponsored by the U.S. government, the NSA.
Wow, really?
Oh yeah, it's all the encryption. I like to explain to people, when you look at DigiByte or Bitcoin or even Litecoin, it's not just one type of encryption. There's multiple types of encryption that work together to do various functions. And the analogy I like to give is it's like a car. A car has all these subsystems. You have the engine, you have the transmission, you have the brakes. Well, that's the same thing when it comes to a UTXO blockchain like DigiByte and Bitcoin. You've got the mining process, you have your wallet private keys, then you have the way that blocks are structured, the Merkle tree structure. You have all these different subsystems of cryptography. So a lot of this all originated from the encryption research done by the government over the last 50, 100, well, I guess you could argue it even goes back further. But those systems, basically the government would put out these competitions to researchers at different various academic institutions. And so one of those was the SHA-3 competition to replace SHA-256, which was the SHA-2 standard.
Yes.
And so the algorithms that we're actually using, some of them, not all of them, involve different components and different pieces of a bunch of the SHA-3 candidates. So that's actually how they were chosen, because they were proven to be secure. They were the latest generation. And so we're like, this can further decentralize the mining process. But remember, mining is just one subpart of the blockchain. The actual private keys and the actual public and private system, that's still founded on SHA-256. But anyway, I don't want to go into the technical weeds on that, but that's kind of a high level overview.
No, and I really like that, because people ask me about it all the time, which is why I wanted you to answer it and let it out, so that way I can refer people back to this. And then when you have, so you have the 5 mining algos, you have 15-second block times, which people are saying, this is where my beef comes in with a lot of Bitcoin maxis, and Bitcoin is my number one. Like, I'll say it, and I'm kind of like a proof of work maxi in a lot of ways, because I believe that is the true way of decentralization. I don't think proof of work is it. A proof of stake is it. You know what I mean? And so when I look at DigiByte and I look at Litecoin, I look at Bitcoin, I'm like, okay, what am I going to use as everyday currency? I give away Bitcoin on this podcast. or not technically this one, but the Daily Zest, and it sometimes takes an hour for me to hit a block. And so if I use Litecoin, I know that's different. If I use DigiByte, it's like this. So how do we get that across to people that if we're going to look at cryptocurrency, because people forget this isn't just an investment class, it's a currency. How do we push them to start spending and using DigiByte? Like, let's utilize this thing.
Yeah, so a couple points there. First of all, most cryptos out there are not truly decentralized, right?
I'm with that, yes.
Okay, so people need to know, first off, a lot of these leading projects, they don't even keep a blockchain history, right? And a lot of them are run on maybe a dozen, 2 dozen, 3 dozen servers max. And in fact, if you look at the top 500 projects on CoinMarketCap, there's less than a dozen of them that you as an individual can actually contribute to the decentralization of the network by running a full node, being part of it, and then actually helping grow the decentralization of the network to technically an infinite bounds. There's literally maybe a dozen projects in the entire top 500 that you can do that. So that's the first thing. So the second thing is, I like to think of Bitcoin as a strategic reserve asset. It actually, in my opinion, sucks as a currency. And took me a while to figure this out. And then I would also argue, yes, DigiByte is much faster. It's faster than Bitcoin, faster than Litecoin. But even then, it's hard capped and finite. So there's only going to be 21 billion DigiByte, just like there's only going to be 21 million Bitcoin. And the reason that we originally did that is because I read the comments from Satoshi where he was going back and forth on, should I make it 21 million or should I make it 21 billion? And he said, well, if it actually becomes very big and popular, we can move the decimal place over 3 places and do 21 billion. So in Satoshi's own writing, he basically said that if it got big, it should be 21 billion. So that's why DigiByte's 21 billion.
Oh, you're so smart.
You can go back and look at his writing. So I took it from him. So I like to think of DigiByte as a strategic reserve asset because it's hard capped. Same thing with Litecoin. It's hard capped. It's limited, right? Not a lot of people don't realize that a lot of cryptos have no limit. There's no upper end. Example, Dogecoin has no limit. It's infinite, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for cryptos that are hard capped, that are finite, to me, they're truly decentralized. Anybody can run a node and become part of the decentralization forest and then use that as a long-term reserve asset. To me, that's the home run. Now, the next part of this is something we've been talking about for years and we've been working on for the last several months. What we're working on with DigiByte is going to be called the DigiDollar.
Oh, darn. Explain.
All right. So DigiDollar is very unique. There's nothing else like it out there. And it will be the world's first truly decentralized, time-locked stablecoin. And the idea is, just like if you download a Bitcoin core wallet or a Litecoin core wallet, you can have a DigiByte core wallet where you have DigiByte, where you control the private keys. It's your wallet on your computer, and you can go into part of the wallet and you can actually what we call time lock, where you lock up a certain amount of DigiByte that stay in your wallet, and you can actually issue a DigiDollar stable coin that then you can send and receive. So the best part is, and the reason for this is, okay, and I've thought about this. I've had numerous discussions with a lot of people. Everyone says just stack sats, right? Just keep it. Don't ever sell your Bitcoin. Well, life happens. I mean, I sold some of my last Bitcoin to put a roof on my house because the roof was leaking, right?
And that's important.
It's important, right? You can't eat a Bitcoin. You can't live in a Bitcoin. And it definitely, isn't going to be a house you can live in. So eventually you're going to have to sell your Bitcoin. Well, that's not going to be the case with DigiByte. The idea is DigiByte will be a strategic reserve crypto that you can hold forever, theoretically, indefinitely, never have to sell. And then when you need to, you go into your wallet, you lock up. And so there's this part of the blockchain called time lock, and it's been around for over a decade. Bitcoin has it, Litecoin has it, DigiByte has it. You time lock, so that means you can't spend until a certain point in the future. And then depending on how far or how long you time lock the currency, you're basically able to issue DigiDollars that you send and receive just like you would DigiBytes, except they're decentralized, like truly decentralized. There's no central issuer. There's no central custodian. And in every given block, you can see how many digidollars are in circulation and how many digibyte are cryptographically time locked up network wide. And in fact, if you wanted me to show you this right now, I could actually show
Yes.
you on, so what do I do here? I just hit share my screen.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Everyone, please smash the like and share this out. We have major alpha dropping. This isn't the only major alpha we got today. We have one more announcement that you guys need to know about. So please smash the like and share.
Let's see. So is it showing or is it?
Not yet.
Oh, goodness. It's telling me.
Yeah, if you hit the share, it'll tell you like the window or certain applications that you can share.
Yeah.
Zoom is a little buggy.
Oh, privacy and security. I see. I got to give it the authentication. Uh-oh. It's telling me I have to quit and reopen to do this.
I mean, you could pop out and pop back in if you need to.
Okay, let me do that real quick. Here
okay. Okay, guys. Jared will be right back. But while I'm here by myself, please make sure you guys are smashing the likes. Please share it out. We're going to keep getting after it with Jared. We love Jared on this channel. He is an absolute OG in the community. He's coming back right now. All right. Hold on. We should be letting him in. All right. There we go.
Okay. Am I back?
I don't see you, but you're here. Oh, wait. Now you're there. Okay. Perfect.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Okay. So, first announcement that I want to make. This is very important here. The latest version of DigiByte. Whoops, can you still see it?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, perfect. So as of today, we have officially released DigiByte Core version 8.26, which is the latest version of DigiByte. And we recommend that anyone who is running a core wallet upgrade. And so this includes mining pools, exchanges, and node runners and node users. So what is a node? A node is basically a desktop computer. So it can be a server, it can be a laptop that is running the core wallet. So the core wallet looks like this. So this is version 8.26. We've spent a lot of time and effort. There's a lot of enhancements. This is the most stable version and well-tested version of DigiByte we've had in 11 years, which DigiByte will be 12 years old in January. I can't believe it.
Wow.
But the important thing about this is it has Taproot. So many of you may have heard of Taproot, but Taproot has been activated with Bitcoin. It's been activated with Litecoin. And it does a lot of things that help make the blockchain more efficient. So it makes transactions a little smaller with something called Schnorr signatures, but it also allows something called TapScript. And this TapScript allows for a lot of advanced smart contract functionality. So if you want to become part of the decentralized forest and you want to be able to, am I screen sharing yet?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was looking at myself and I was still seeing myself. I wasn't seeing the screen, but okay. I can see the green thing now. All right. Yeah. So if you want to become part of the decentralized forest, run a core wallet, which is the core node. That is the backbone of the blockchain. So a lot of people don't realize pretty much every exchange you use, every third-party wallet you use, Block Explorer's advanced services, whether it's Bitcoin, Litecoin, DigiByte, all those services are running core wallets on the back end. Right? So the further you get away from running a core wallet, the further you are from being part of the decentralization itself. And the further you are from literally taking direct control of your own private keys and sovereignty and self-study. So I highly recommend, whether it's DigiByte or Bitcoin or Litecoin, and there's really only a handful of blockchains you can do this, which is, I think, the eye opener for people. And this is the test I use. If I want to go participate or buy a little bit of another crypto, can I download a core wallet and become part of the decentralization process? If I can't do that, I don't buy any of that crypto. That's my rule. So a lot of people don't realize there's literally, like, the code behind this is almost 2 million lines of code. Most of the, I don't know, meme contract or meme coins or layer 2 projects you get, there's literally maybe 150, 200, 300 lines of code behind them. And it's totally dependent usually on another centralized system. So as we start stacking these layers of centralization on top of centralization, we're moving further away from what Satoshi intended. So this is why what we're trying to build, and by the way, version 8.26, you can either go to digibyte.io and click downloads, and you can download it here, which this website has lots of stats. For example, you can see the real-time difficulty for the different 5 algorithms. You can see the network hash rate. You can see nodes. This is how many nodes are on the Digibyte blockchain worldwide. And remember, a node is just you downloading and running the core wallet, which also looks pretty good. We also did a big UI enhancement with version 8.26.
It looks good. It looks a lot better than the other core wallets I've seen. It's freaking scary. I look at it and I'm like, I feel like I'm out of my league when I look at things like that. And this actually looks approachable to me.
Yes, we've put a lot of time and energy into it. So if you're listening, go to digibyte.io, go to downloads, and you can download the latest version, and then you can even see other people across the world that are running nodes. So this is the forest. This is the decentralization forest. That's what makes a blockchain truly decentralized and resistant to control or to any sort of third-party intervention. That's what decentralization really is. So there's a lot of useful info here. So I highly recommend get the word out, contact your favorite exchange, do that. This is a big step. So Taproot was super important because it allows for advanced smart contract functionality, like the idea behind DigiDollar. So what is DigiDollar? How would it be used? So as you can see here, this, I think that's actually the main, this is, I've opened this in what's called reg test. So this is live code that's actually been implemented. Now, if I go to DigiDollar, you see a whole new interface. Now, this is not in version 8.26.1 yet. This is development code. This is test code. But I'm going to explain how the DigiDollar will work and go through it. So, as you can see here, this is Bob. We have 3 people. We have Bob, Alice, and Charlie. And they're in different parts of the world. But this is what they're seeing individually with their wallets. So, Bob was a miner. Bob mined a lot of different things here, as you can see. And so what he did is he decided that he wanted to mint some DigiDollars. So what he did is, as you can see here, and this is basically all been run through. This is a test scenario, but I'll just walk you through what happened. The first thing he did is he minted 100 DigiDollars. So how did he do that? He went into his DigiDollar tab and he went to mint. And the first thing he did is he typed 100, and then he decided how much collateral and how long he wants to lock up his Digibyte for. So the way this works is for the production version, you'll have 30 days, 3 months, 6 months, a year, 3, 5, 7, and 10 years. And depending on the length of time that you're going to time lock your Digibyte, and once again, these Digibyte never leave your wallet. You just can't access them until the time lock expires, and then you burn the original amount of DigiDollars that you used to lock up. So for example, for 30 days, if let's say the price is 1 penny, you're going to have to collateralize 500%. So that means the value of the time locked DigiDollars will be over collateralized. And the reason for that is this is a truly decentralized system. There's no centralized market maker. There's no centralized, liquidation mechanism. This thing has to be resilient in an actually truly decentralized network wide way. So you go ahead and I'll just mint the DigiDollar here, and boom, there we go. We've got a transaction. So once you time lock, you go to the vault and you can see all the different times that you time locked your Digibyte to create DigiDollars. So once you have that, you have the DigiDollars. Now, as you can see, when I did that, the network total of DigiDollars is there. Now, this hasn't been confirmed yet, so it's still pending. So that's why the network-wide stats haven't updated. But the way it works is at any given time, anybody anywhere in the world can come and see what the network total of DigiDollars in circulation is, and then how much DigiDollars are, how many Digibyte are time locked as collateral. So there's complete transparency. And this is why I say Digibyte becomes a hard capped reserve asset, whereas DigiDollars become the ability to basically transact on a day-to-day
Basis.
basis, right? Sorry. And you never lose the potential upside of Digibyte gaining in value. And then theoretically, like let's say you time lock DigiDollars 3 years from now, the price is tripled. All you have to do is take the original amount of DigiDollars you issued, burn that, unlock it, relock it, and you would get 3 times the amount of DigiDollar. So the idea is you're basically giving yourself a loan. It's like what rich people do with their stocks. They don't sell their stocks. They take out a collateralized loan against it. And that's why you're seeing all these services that want to separate you from your Bitcoin or your Litecoin or your Digibyte. So they hold the private keys and then they'll give you a loan. Whereas with this system, you literally can always keep your private keys. You never have to give up control. And in most jurisdictions, that's not a taxable event. So it's like potentially, and then theoretically, there's no limit because they're going to keep printing fiat infinitely. So there's not any limit as the value of Digibyte grows and more Digibyte get time locked. And so there's less in circulation. Then it's going to be easier for more and more DigiDollars to be minted. And then they run on the Digibyte blockchain. So they're instant, they're quick, they're fast. So you get all the upside, all the decentralization upside. And then the most important thing is you never have to give up your private keys. And the more people that start using this, the more nodes on the network, the more decentralized it grows and the more resilient to attacks. So there's a lot of other technical details. There's nothing else like this. I would recommend if you want to learn more, you want to read the white paper, you want to, where's my screen here? Go to digibyte.io and click on the DigiDollar tab. And it goes through and it gives explanation, describes it more. You know, another thing, there's only right now about enough Digibyte for every person on Earth to have 1.94 Digibyte.
Whoa.
So it's pretty scarce, right? That's why it makes sense to be used as a strategic reserve asset that'll collateralize other things. So there's all sorts of new applications that can happen in a truly decentralized way like this. Because right now, there is no truly decentralized stablecoin. You have to trust centralized entities, some of which have never proven they have what they say they have, or even worse, stablecoin issuers that can censor your transactions at will, that can shut them down, that can freeze your account. That's not possible with a truly decentralized stablecoin. So
yeah, that's my huge thing because I feel like a lot of the mainstream stablecoins are like CBDC light.
They are. They're privatized CBDCs. The government, the bankers, the banksters realized they're smart enough to understand that, hey, these people caught on to the CBDC idea. Well, let's just go ahead and then privatize it and then let them handle all the shenanigans. And that's what's happening. So I'd encourage people to go to digibyte.io to, sorry, my
so if you have $1 worth of Digibyte, you take that $1 worth and then that gives you that one DigiDollar. And then so like if I have $1 that I want to make, I have to collateralize 500 times that?
No, not 500, 500%. So
500%.
For example,
okay.
But that's if you wanted to time lock for 30 days. So if you wanted, so that means in 30 days, you can access your Digibyte again. In that particular case, for every $1 of DigiDollar you issue, you have to time lock $5 worth of Digibyte.
Okay.
And that's to be able to handle mass volatility if the price of Digibyte fluctuates like crypto does 50, 60, 70% either way.
And so once you hit that 30 days and then you're like, okay, I want my Digibyte back, what's the process exactly? Because I think people would get lost where you said, okay, you could get your Digibyte back, but you have to burn something. So like how does that all work?
Okay, so simple explanation. Let's say in 30 days, the price of Digibyte doubles, right? So you issued one DigiDollar to begin with, but you locked up $5 worth of Digibyte. That $1 30 days later, because the price doubled, is now worth $10, correct? Because the price of Digibyte doubled. So all you have to do is go in and you go to redeem here. You enter the contract or the vault ID, and then you hit redeem once the time lock expires. Because you can see here, it tells you how much time is remaining in the time lock. Once the time lock expires, you have to burn one DigiDollar, but then you have $10 worth of DigiByte unlocked. And so all you would have to do is you could relock and this time issue 5 DigiDollars.
What if I spent
right?
my DigiDollar and I can't burn it?
Well, then until you are able to go get some, it's still locked. But remember,
Then you have to lock more
your
DigiByte to get more DigiDollar to burn it?
Possibly, you could. That's one way. But the idea is you never give up control of your private keys, right? And I think about this. Like, for example, if this system existed when I had to put a new roof on my house, I'd still have that Bitcoin if this system, but this system really isn't possible with Bitcoin because the blocks are full, it's too slow, and there's not enough, I guess, capacity to implement something like this.
So if DigiByte hits the scale of usage that Bitcoin is at, do you think that it would still be able to scale in a way that Bitcoin can't?
Absolutely, because we already have, 40 times the capacity just built in by default on top of other systems that are different. There's a lot of differences in DigiByte and little tweaks and enhancements. I mean, whether it comes from the amount of, I don't want to drown people in technical detail, but there's a lot more capacity there.
Yes. Okay. So I know we're running short on time, so I just want to make sure that we're covering all the bases with DigiDollar as well. What is one thing that like people need to know going into DigiDollar? So they will have to download the core wallet off of digibyte.io. Is that the only way to mint it, or is it on like some sort of app on your phone that's a little bit more accessible for people?
All right. So first of all, this is still in development. This process has been underway for a long time, and there's still testing and development needs to be done. There's a whole nother component to this called the Oracle system, because you got to have a decentralized pricing mechanism. So part of that system is still being designed and structured where basically people will be incentivized to become decentralized price oracles. So that's a whole nother topic. I'm going to do videos on this. We can do another podcast in the future.
Absolutely.
So I don't want to get lost in the weeds. But the idea is initially you'll use the core wallet. Now it's not done. We're shooting for the first part of 2026 to start rolling this out, but it's going to require a network-wide soft fork. So it requires the participation of everybody. So, and there's a lot of details, there's a lot of testing, there's a lot of things that need to be done, but it's possible. And this is working code. This is a working prototype. But what we're going to do here over the next few months is we're going to get more and more people in the community involved, and we're actually going to deploy this on testnet, and we're going to test it all that way. And then we're going to do more educational things and explain. Now, eventually, yes, people will be able to use third-party apps or even exchanges that'll make this simpler and easier to do. But to start with, this has to be a truly decentralized system, so it has to start in the core wallet. So I just wanted to introduce people to the concept. Like I said, there's nothing like it out there that's been done before. There's a lot of technical details and things like a 4-layer protection mechanism, and there's things to enhance, market volatility. But the key idea is this. You, in theory, will never have to sell your DigiByte again, and you can keep relocking and reminting as the value grows over time. That's the idea. That's the theory. But there's a lot of protection mechanisms built in to handle crazy volatility like we see in markets. But it is an over-collateralized stablecoin because that's the only way this kind of system can work.
Got it. Okay, beautiful. So once this releases, I think we should do another podcast, and we could do some like literal live minting and like sending DigiDollar to each other. And I think that is probably the way. And we could show people how it works and really like bring it mainstream. Because what I really want to see is people going ahead minting DigiDollars or just using DigiByte in general and transacting with it. Like I would love to see more merchants accepting DigiByte.
Well, and this is the key point, right? Why has merchant usage of crypto and especially Bitcoin, Litecoin, DigiByte never taken off? Well, it doesn't really make any sense because if I can save my Bitcoin, it's like the guy who bought the pizza. The guy who bought the pizza is out $2 billion now, right?
Oh, jeez.
So that's the problem. That's the fundamental problem. You have to give a merchant a stable mechanism, which I pay my rent in dollars, I pay my power bill in dollars. Like, we still use fiat currency for pretty much everything, right?
Yep.
So the idea is this will become much easier for merchants to integrate and adopt. And it's got complete transparency because every single block, you can see how many DigiByte are actually backing the amount of DigiDollars in circulation. So there's no questions, there's no shenanigans. It's all mathematically, cryptographically verified on chain in a truly, truly decentralized fashion.
And what do you think is a problem that needs to be solved in crypto? Because I know you're working on some other things behind the scenes in addition to this new release that just came out that we announced just now, DigiDollar, which we just dove into. What is the big problem that you want to fix in crypto, and what do you think you want to do to go ahead and solve it, or are you not ready to talk about that yet?
Well, so yes, there's something I've been working on for years. It'll be some major announcements here in the next week or two,
Watch out,
and it
guys.
and it'll have to be basically helping people understand visually what's decentralized and what isn't, and to be able to take the entire industry and put it in the perspective so everyone can easily understand. Because in my opinion right now, the number one thing missing in the crypto world is education. I mean,
Absolutely.
there's so many smart, brilliant people that have good motives, good intentions, that mean well, that just don't fully understand the technology at deeper levels. And so my goal is to help try and bridge that gap and provide a lot of these brilliant people that are trying to promote this, trying to move things forward, give them tools to be able to do that. And the original. I'm not here to say woe is me or woe is us, but Digibyte's kind of been shunned and stuck under the rug, like the redheaded stepchild kicked out the back door, right? And I'm like, is it really because our technology sucks, or is it because the industry doesn't understand? And so I set out years ago to prove what is truly decentralized and what isn't, and that's led me to what I've been working on. So there's more to come on that. I don't want to give it away. I'm so excited. I want to give it away, but I got to finish with the patent and some other things first. So,
Oh, I'm
but
so excited. We'll do another show on DigiDollar and your new announcement because I definitely think that everything you're doing is so needed in crypto, and especially decentralization is major. And I think a lot of people are also emotionally tied to their bags and they want to promote what's going to make them money. And so I think sometimes like DigiByte kind of gets like the poop end of the stick, to put it quite nicely, because it's something that will impact the maxis, is going to impact those people that are looking for that quick cash. And so DigiByte, I believe, is something that comes into play a little bit later, and we're doing the foundational work now. Like Bitcoin, it took a while for people to be like, you know what? This is something that we should be using. Like even the Winklevoss twins, they were trying to have a Bitcoin ETF over 10 years ago, but people thought they were crazy for it. Now what are we doing? Everything has an ETF. And then we're going to be like, okay, well, Bitcoin's a little bit too slow for money. Litecoin is really popular now. Maybe their fees go up. So what's next? What am I going to use as my everyday currency? And that's where I believe DigiByte comes in. And everybody knows that I've been having that opinion since I started, because to me it's blatantly obvious. And so I'm ready to go on this ride with y'all. I've been on this ride with you guys for almost 6 years now, and I don't plan on concluding that. So I'm very bullish on DigiByte. It's technology. We're not always about number go up, guys. We're about tech and the future of money. Do you agree, Jared? Do you agree?
absolutely 100%. And honestly, there's never been a better time to buy Digibyte, and I'm buying it right now. And for everything that's happening, and I can tell you there's other things that the community members are working on. And because remember, Digibyte, there's no CEO, okay? There's no company, there's no centralized entity. There are people working independently on various different projects. And some of them they've told me behind the scenes, and it's pretty impressive. So there's a lot happening. Digibyte is not dead. I promise you. I've never been more excited about the future than I am right now. And I started work actually in November, will be 12 years that I've been working on Digibyte.
That is
So,
mind blowing, sir. 12 years. That is
and I've
absolutely insane.
and between the latest developments in technology and AI and the tools that are coming out to enable us and to power us and to do the things we're doing, I really mean it. I have never been more excited about what's happening and where we're going and what the potential is. And remember, this is about we the people in true decentralization,
Oh,
empowering people from the ground up. And that's what this technology can do. And that's why I believe we need a return to the core roots of why Bitcoin started.
this is what I like to say, Jared, and you feel free to steal it. Fundamentals over pumpamentals. And that's what we need to go back to. Fundamentals over pumpamentals. You heard it here first, everybody. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. Jared, where do we find you? Where can we find out more about DigiByte and your beautiful creation that's blessing this earth?
Well, if you want to learn more about the blockchain, go to digibyte.io or digibyte.org. There's actually not one centralized website. There's multiple websites.
Oh, shocker.
So that's another thing. You can, the best way to find me is on X. That's pretty much where I'm the most active, at Jared C. Tate, JAREDCTATE.
Beautiful. Jared also likes pew-pews. You know, he's experienced in that. He'll go freaking shoot them in the woods, which I'm a big fan of. And I need to visit an outdoor range. I might have to visit you, Jared. We might have to hit an outdoor range. That'll be lit,
well, you know,
honestly.
The majority of Idaho is a outdoor range. It's like 80% is an outdoor range. So that's why I came back here. I mean, there's no place like it in the lower 48. So
listen,
yeah,
man, I'll have a freaking potato while I'm at it too, with some extra butter, maybe a little cheese, maybe some gravy. We'll make it into like a poutine baked potato. But I'm very bullish on potatoes. I'm bullish on you. I'm bullish on Idaho. I'm bullish on DigiByte. And thank you, Jared, for being here today. We'll be back soon because there's so many announcements going on. I have to hear more from Jared on my own after this. And then, guys, I got a text right before I went live. I'll be on Newsmax. So for all of you that like mainstream TV, you have cable. Well, Newsmax, 3:40 p.m. Eastern. So less than an hour, I'll be on national TV. So please join us. I'll be spreading the word about Bitcoin and crypto. I'm live every day, Monday through Friday at 9:45 a.m. Eastern to discuss Bitcoin and crypto news and DigiByte. We have a cool emoji in the chat. Sign up, be a member, get your emojis. Have a beautiful day. Happy Halloween to all that like to be spooky, you know? Have a beautiful day. Happy Thursday. Thank you, Jared. Thank you, DigiByte community. And I will see you guys tomorrow morning and on Newsmax in an hour. Stay zesty, guys. Peace.